Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6 cents for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back, just wait.
It was very casual. We were just kind of walking off the field, and he was like, "So what you gonna do?" I said, "I'm gonna come back next year." He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm excited. Let's go to Atlanta." And I was like, "Yes, sir. Let's make it happen."
99% of the people in this world want to be great. Would you agree with that? Yeah, they're called wannabes. 1% work to be great. Drop the mic on that.
On the field, the pride of the Southland band crisply marches into the Giant T. The rear, the roar of 97,000 fans rises with each rhythmic step. In the background, George Beatsis is singing "Fight, Balls, Fight." The orange and white Shakers flood the air. The Volunteers are ready at the north end of the football field to burst through the gate. They're coming now, racing onto the field through the Giant T. In that magic moment that says, wherever you are, it's football time in Tennessee.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Going to be a fun night, jam-packed episode as always. We got Ben McKee from VAWLS 247 coming on the show. VAWLS JP returns for the first time in, it seems like 2 or 3 weeks since JP's been on the show. The guy just lives on vacation. I really don't know what else he does. Can't wait to pick his brain, see what he has to say. But then when I look at it, maybe we shouldn't let JP back on the show the way things have been going, but we'll see. Going to be a fun show, like I said. Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out here bright and early. Crazy Nugs is in the house. What is up, Crazy Nugs? Says, see y'all in Knoxville this Saturday night game, dark mode. Man, I cannot wait. Going to be an electric atmosphere. I feel like we keep saying it. I feel like every week we say, man, this is it. This is the next step. This is the next step. One by one, it just keeps getting bigger and better. Kenny Jones is in the house. What is up, Kenny? Bryson Collins is here. What's up, Bryson? Jerry Miller in the house representing Johnson City, Tennessee. Well, I won't tell you what this hat stands for then if you're representing Johnson City. Bryson David is also here. David Burgess is also here. Big Vol Daddy. Big Vol Daddy, I feel like you don't like me, man. I feel like you don't like me. You're always in the chat, and then I reach out to you, and I'm like, hey, man, why don't you come on the show and hang out and, sell me. You big time, you Big Vol Daddy. What's going on? What are you doing? Joey Carroll's in the house. What's up, Joey? Let's see here. We got Big Debo becomes a member of the channel. Appreciate that, Big Debo. You got those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, access to fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun stuff. We appreciate that support. John Hill drops a $22.22 super chat. We can now officially start the show. John says, miss live last night due to work and tonight at men's Bible study. It's time to whoop up some kittens and keep that beer barrel. Let's go, Big Orange. Thank you, John. Appreciate that super chat. Very generous. Guys, come on in, pull up a chair, crack open a beer, and let's get ready for Talkin VAWLS Live. Make sure you guys do smash that thumbs up. Share it out. Let's grow this live chat. Let's see how big we can get this thing tonight. I put out the challenge. I told you guys if we get 1,000 people in the chat, we will give away some free merchandise, Kentucky's Daddy merchandise to be exact. But let's jump into it. Let's get the man of the hour on here, Ben McKee from VAWLS 247. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me. Hope you're well.
I'm doing good, man. You came on I guess it was Alabama week. And you went off the air and everybody was like, oh, man, Ben did his homework. Ben knows what's going on. And I was like, I'll reach out to him. Let's get him back on. I think, I told Eric Kane last week, we were talking. He was on here. I was on there. I don't remember. It all crosses over. And I don't think people realize how hard you guys work. Look, I'm a fan, and I get on here and yell and scream at a microphone, but it's all emotion. I don't think people realize that, Sunday, Monday, you guys are sitting down in front of the TV with a notebook taking notes. So it does not go unnoticed. We appreciate what you guys do in the media.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. That means more than you know, and I'll have your check in the mail for saying that first thing in the morning. But no, it's not just us. I mean, you put a lot of effort into what you've got going on and have really created a cool space for you and your listeners. And it's really cool. The intro got me hyped and ready for Saturday. So I say it's stupid that I get to do this for a living. And it's silly that I get paid to talk about something that I followed growing up. And I'm very blessed. And I know Eric feels the same way.
Yeah, I had this penciled in on my notes here to ask you towards the end. But since you said that, I'm going to start with the last question I was going to ask you. And as a fan, and you're a young guy. Look, hey man, I'm 41. I've seen the good times, and I know you've seen some good times too. But do you ever just sit back and it's like, man, I'm part of the media. I'm working. I'm grinding. Do you ever just sit back and go, what a special year this has been 7 games into it?
Yes, I have. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Tennessee beating Alabama because, as you mentioned, I am a little bit younger, and I haven't seen much success against Alabama from Tennessee's standpoint. I'm obviously very aware of Peyton to Joey Kent in '95 and those late '90s or early 2000s games. But I was born in '95, so. I didn't. You don't really follow it as close as we do now. When I'd say until you're about middle school, I would say until you really start to follow it super in depth and are aware of kind of what transpires throughout football games and things like that. So I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Tennessee beating Alabama, but also because I went to high school in Alabama, so I have a lot of friends that went to. UA and they've been messing with me for many years, but it's been a really fun football season. I guess the biggest surprise is the fact that Josh Heupel's doing this in year 2. I always thought that he was a good football coach. I didn't think that we'd have this type of success in year 2, and the games keep getting bigger and bigger. And now all of a sudden it's Halloween weekend, and we're talking about Tennessee playing to go to the college football playoffs. That's wild. I did not see that coming this season.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody did. And that's why sometimes it's fun to just sit back and go, man, just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy where they're at. But, this weekend is a big game, and that's something worth talking about because we are over halfway into the year. Tennessee's 7-0, sitting at number 3 in the country, and everybody in this fan base has their eyes on November 5th in a matchup with the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And look, again, talking to Eric Kane, we just recorded the Friday episode of Locked On Vols. And I said, Eric, do you understand? I'm 41 years old, and in my entire life, Kentucky has beaten Tennessee 5 times. And some of that is battered Vol syndrome with the way the series has played out over the last few years. But even still, Tennessee has been dominant in this series. But Kentucky does always seem to bring their A game. The Vols are favored by 2 scores. ESPN FPI has Tennessee at like 83% chance, something like that. Is this a trap game? Do you see this as a trap game coming up on Saturday?
I think by definition it is a trap game, but I'm not at all concerned about Tennessee coming out and playing flat. If they lose to Kentucky on Saturday, it's not going to be because they got caught looking ahead to Georgia. This team has just showed time and time and time again that they don't look ahead. They don't. The Florida week, there's a lot going on. LSU week, Alabama week. I mean, there's a lengthy resume at this point of Tennessee not looking ahead and not even just looking ahead, but more so just the peripheral and everything going on outside of the building with College game day and sold out stadiums and alternate uniforms and oranging out the crowd and checkering Neyland. There's been a lot going on, and now it's Hendon Hooker for Heisman and Jalen Hyatt for the Biletnikoff Award and Josh Heupel for Coach of the Year and Tennessee playing to go to not only Atlanta and play in the SEC championship game, but also make the college football playoffs. And also, like you mentioned, next week is as big of a game against Georgia as the Alabama game, if not even bigger, just because of what all will be on the line. But I don't think that this is a trap game. Again, maybe by definition it is, just because of how humongous next Saturday's game in Athens is going to be. But this is still a big football game. It's a top 25 matchup. I know fans are somewhat down on Kentucky, and I get it, but this is still a pretty good, pretty solid Kentucky football team. They're ranked in the top 25 for a reason. Mark Stoops has really developed a nice football program up there by Kentucky football standards. And it's one that Tennessee is going to have to be aware of and ready to play in, because if they're not, Kentucky will jump up and beat Tennessee if Tennessee does not play the way that it has been playing. So I think Tennessee will manage this week perfectly fine. They've done it all season. That stems from the leadership. I think we talked about that last time you had me on, just the great leadership that allows them to not get caught up in everything going on. I expect that to be the same. And again, if Tennessee loses to Kentucky, it's not going to be because they were looking ahead to Georgia. It's going to be because they beat themselves.
Yeah, I think at some point we just have to look at it and say, Josh Heupel's going to have this football team ready to play, no matter what. Last week was the perfect opportunity for this team to come out and play flat, and they dominated right out of the gate. So, it's kind of like the culture. Like when Josh Heupel first came in, it was culture this and culture that. Everything everybody's talking about is culture. And at some point, it's like, hey, we get it. Josh Heupel is going to have a good culture. And now it's kind of like Josh Heupel's always going to have his team prepared and ready to go play. And I agree with you. I think they're going to be ready to go on Saturday. Let's get into a little bit of X's and O's. For me, one of the fun matchups everybody's looking at and talking about is Kentucky's defense versus Tennessee's offense. Kentucky giving up just 16.4 points a game, 9th in the country in scoring defense. Now, little asterisk beside that, you can look at the way they manage the clock, what they do on offense. But then on the flip side, Tennessee ranked first in yards per game scoring offense, 50.14 points a game. Tennessee's going to get theirs. What do you see on both sides of the ball, Kentucky defensively versus Tennessee offensively?
Yeah, it's a fascinating matchup, and I know you're asking me about the Kentucky defense versus the Tennessee offense, but even from a big picture standpoint, it could not be two different styles of football. Mark Stoops, very much of the old school variety of running the football, stopping the run, time of possession. They certainly want to keep the football away from Tennessee, and Tennessee's the polar opposite. They want to go as fast as they can, to run as many plays as they can, because you would think mathematically you run more offensive plays, the likelihood of you scoring more points will increase by being able to run more plays. So I think people kind of get caught up in the tempo, and they want to go fast so they can score points. And yes, technically that's true, but it's more of an alternate route to get there in terms of wanting to run more plays in order to score more points. And Josh Heupel has said many times publicly that he does not look at the time of possession. I know that's kind of a big talking point amongst fans and amongst media members, because it's been drilled into our heads for so many years of watching football of how important time of possession is. But Josh Heupel's thought process is that the total amount of plays that they get to run is more important than time of possession, because you can have the football for, 20, 30 minutes in a game and run 40, 50 plays, but Josh Heupel's fine with having the football for 15 minutes if that means they get to run 70 or 80 plays, because again, statistically you're going to have a better chance of scoring more points if you run more plays. So you saw that play out last year. Tennessee scored 45 points in 13 minutes of possession, which is pretty remarkable. And it's just a contrasting style. Kentucky wants to keep the ball away from Tennessee, and Tennessee just doesn't really care that they kind of have that style of play. They're still going to try to put up as many points as quickly as possible, and they're not really worried about the time of possession, because just like you saw last year, they put up enough points despite only having it for 13 minutes. I'm fascinated to see how that matchup plays out, because again, it's the best offense in America. Kentucky's defense is really, really solid, really good. I do think there are some interesting matchups in terms of Kentucky's defensive front going up against Tennessee's offensive line. I would give the nod to Tennessee just because of how we've seen Tennessee's offensive line play the last couple of weeks, the way that they were able to move around Florida and LSU and Alabama. And there are some big-time NFL prospects on those defensive lines, and Tennessee's been able to clear the way. And again, you have Hendon Hooker, who's playing as efficient of football as anybody in the country at any position. There's a reason he's arguably the Heisman front runner. So Kentucky has a good defense, but Kentucky also hasn't played an offense like Tennessee, which nobody really can because Tennessee is the best in the country. So it'll be a big test for the Kentucky defense, but I think it's one that Tennessee should win that matchup more often than not on Saturday.
We flip over and look at the other side of the ball, what Kentucky wants to do offensively. And a lot of people in the chat, I see them talking about Rodriguez. He's a guy that missed, I think, the first 4 games of the season. So, the Kentucky's numbers, and again, you can always take numbers and manipulate them, right, to kind of fit this narrative that you want to tell. But Rodriguez, he is a baller. He's a gamer. But Kentucky's still just averaging 117 yards a game on the ground. Tennessee, 6th best rush defense in the country, just giving up 93.5. And we saw that last year with Rodney Garner's defensive line. How good they are against the run and the linebackers too. I think Jeremy Banks, Aaron Beasley, both really good against the run. I think this thing, and this is just my opinion. My opinion is I think it's going to come down to Will Levis. I think maybe Tennessee jumps out early and Kentucky throws their game plan out the window and they have to throw the football. And some people out there saying Will Levis, number 1 draft pick, and he'll play in the NFL. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know that he's going to be some NFL MVP or anything, but what is your overall opinion of Will Levis and what he brings to this matchup against Tennessee on Saturday?
Yeah, I pretty much have the same opinion. I think Will Levis is a very good quarterback. I certainly see why the NFL loves him. I think college football fans either do not know or forget mostly why quarterbacks are drafted, and even not even just quarterbacks. And not just the NFL, all of the professional leagues, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, they draft on tools. That's what they draft on. And obviously production is important, what you did in college and whatnot, but potential and measurables and athleticism and things of that nature, that carries more weight to the professional ranks. And that's why you see guys like Will Levis drafted higher than what his college production would probably lead you to believe. And so he has a big arm. He's athletic. He can run around. And he is in an offense at Kentucky that is more of an NFL style of play in terms of the playbook and schematics and formations and things of that nature. So I understand why the NFL is high on Will Levis, but I don't see first-round quarterback on Will Levis. I certainly don't see number 1 overall pick in the draft. So we'll see how that ends up playing out when the draft rolls around. But he's certainly a good quarterback and more than capable of beating Tennessee if Tennessee's defense doesn't show up. I kind of just think Tennessee's secondary is what it is at this point, especially with it being banged up. So I think it's important for Tennessee up front to generate a pass rush consistently and really take pressure off of the secondary as much as possible. And for the first time in a long time, Kentucky has some nice playmakers on the outside. And they've had a couple here and there, Wan'Dale Robinson, Lynn Bowden. Those guys have been really good the last couple of years, but it's always been a one-man show. This year with Kentucky's receivers, they have a couple of different guys, Dane Key, Barryon Brown, but they're young. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out in this matchup. But if Tennessee's defensive front can generate some pressure and take pressure off of the secondary, then I think that'll be huge. But Will Levis certainly capable of beating Tennessee, especially with the way that the secondary has played this season.
Talking about wide receivers, there's a wide receiver for Tennessee that a lot of people are speculating makes his return to the field this week. And, Cedric Tillman was the guy going into the year. Everybody, says talent in the wide receiver room, talent in the wide receiver room. There was a whole lot of maybe talent. There was a whole lot of question marks. But we knew what we were getting with Cedric Tillman. We all know the story. He's that one guy in the wide receiver room that we knew we were going to be able to trust going into this season. Goes down in the Akron game, and then Jalen Hyatt just absolutely makes a name for himself. I love the story. Love the Jalen Hyatt story. 40 receptions, 769 yards, 12 touchdowns. The kid's going to break all kinds of records at Tennessee. But now Cedric Tillman is coming back, and they're saying that he's done, a lot more in practice the last couple of weeks. We expect him to play. How close to 100% do you think he is? And not just 100% health-wise, how close do you think he is to being in football shape? And what do you expect him to do coming up? And what does Ramel Keaton do? Does he still, get some playing time? What do you expect in there from Cedric Tillman?
Yeah, that's a fascinating conversation for so many of the questions that you asked. I expect Cedric Tillman to come out and there may be a little bit of rust to knock off, but I expect him to be one of the best football players on the field right away. I mean, he's that good, and he's that talented. He's always going to be, at least in college, one of the best players on the field, even if he hasn't played in a couple of games. And I do think there's a difference in a veteran that is as good as Cedric Tillman coming off of the type of injury that he's coming off of, and a sophomore receiver coming off the type of injury that Tillman's coming off of. You have more trust in the veteran because he's been through it. He still knows what to do. And the reps at that age aren't as valuable as they are throughout practice, throughout the week, as they are for the young guys. You know what you're going to get from Cedric Tillman. Again, there's probably a little bit of rust that is going to be needed to knock off. And like you said, I think it's more from a physicality standpoint and football playing shape standpoint. I in terms of just ability as a receiver, I don't really think there's going to be rust that needs to be knocked off from that standpoint. But again, he hasn't played in several weeks, and there's going to have to be a little bit of getting back into shape, working back into shape. But I expect him to come back in and be the guy on offense in terms of being in the starting rotation and being one of Hendon Hooker's go-to targets. And Josh Heupel has talked about it the last several weeks that he's not going to play Cedric Tillman unless he's 100%. And I don't think that literally means 100% because at this point in the season, when you're 2 months in, nobody is 100%. If you play football in the SEC for 2 months, nobody's 100%. So I don't literally think that Josh Heupel means when he's 100% he'll play. I think it means that when he's at 100% for no risk of re-injuring it or making it worse, he's going to come in and play. And it does sound like he's been practicing more and more and looking better each day, which I think is the more important aspect is that he looks better each day. And Cody Burns talked this week about making sure that he was still locked in mentally and doing little things here and there in practice to avoid as much rust as possible. So I expect him to come in this weekend if he does play and have a big role. Now, I'll be curious to see the distribution of targets because of what Jalen Hyatt has been able to do. But I don't think Hendon Hooker has really been a guy that particularly favors one guy over the other. Yes, he's targeted Tillman more when Tillman has been out there, but that was before Brew McCoy had established himself. That was before Jalen Hyatt had established himself. And I think it was just kind of by default, he trusted Tillman and did not necessarily trust the other two as much to that point. And that's why you saw so many targets in the Pitt game for Tillman. Where if you go back to last year, Bayless Jones got plenty of targets, and Javonte Payton was the third guy, but he also got some targets as well. So I think there'll be a nice distribution. And I still think Ramel Keaton's going to play. I think he's proven himself. He's obviously not going to play as much, but if Brew needs a moment to check out and catch his breath, or even Jalen Hyatt or even Tillman, I don't expect Tillman to come in there, and if he plays this Saturday and be in on every single snap, Keaton's going to be able to provide some rest for Tillman while he catches his breath, and Keaton's shown that he can go out there and make plays. So I think it's a good thing for the depth of the receiver room. They've kind of been relying on three guys, and now they can rely on four guys.
There's a super chat from Baker Reynolds for $10. Thank you, Baker. We appreciate that. Says, been doing what we've done without said. Add him, and it's a bad day to be a defense. Vols 52, Cats 17. I like it, Baker. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. We're going to get Ben out of here in just a second. Make sure you guys support what Ben is doing. I said it at the top of the show, man. What he does in the media, it's a lot of work. And you guys see us jump on here and hoop and holler and have fun. But these guys in the media, where do you think we get our info? That's why when we come on here, it's not. I sell this all the time on the show. I'm not on here selling that I'm something special, that Dauber's something special. JP, we are fans. That's it. And, that's why I always credit. I got this from Ben McKee at GoVols247, or I got this here, got that there, because we're not media. And these guys do a lot of work. There's places that you can show them love. You can go follow Ben on Twitter at BenMcKee14. Also, go check out GoVols247. All the links to that are in the description below. Make sure you show him some love, show him some support before we get you out of here, Ben. I know you do predictions over at GoVols247, so you can go as far or as brief as you want with this. Give us a little breakdown, keys to victory, predictions, something along those lines, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, I appreciate all the kind words. As I mentioned earlier, I'll make sure to send you another check at the end of the week.
That's right. I'll keep doing it. We can do this all night if you're going to keep sending checks. We'll keep doing it.
I I'm sure at some point we may have to reverse that trend. But for me, there's really two keys to the game. I mean, Kentucky has a good defense, but I still expect Tennessee to put up points unless they just start turning the football over out of nowhere, which is something that Hendon Hooker has not done. So no disrespect to Kentucky. It's just about Tennessee, and Tennessee having the best offense in the entire country. So I expect Tennessee's offense to put up points. They did against Alabama. I kind of said that going into the Alabama game of I'm not expecting 40 or 50 against Alabama, but I think they can get to the 30, 34-point mark. And what do you know? They come out and score 52. So I think Tennessee can score on absolutely anybody in the entire country. So it's going to come down to the defense. And we talked about it briefly with Will Levis. Anytime the secondary steps onto the field, it has to make you a little bit nervous. But what Kentucky does best on offense is run the football. And maybe the statistics aren't necessarily in their favor, and I think a large part of that is because Chris Rodriguez missed so much time. Their offensive line also isn't as good as it has been the last couple of years. It's not bad, but Kentucky's offensive line has been really, really good. Just look at the guys that they put in the NFL the last couple of years. It's why Stoops has been able to have success by Kentucky football standards, but it's not that this year. It's not bad. But it's a matchup that I think Tennessee's defensive line will win. And although the secondary makes you nervous against a guy like Will Levis who can make plays with his arms, the running game is the one thing Tennessee's defense has defended well this year. They played really well against the run. So they've got to make sure Will Levis doesn't have a career day through the air. And here's the other thing about Levis. He may have all the tools and whatnot, and he's good, but he's good for one game-changing turnover a game, it seems like, if not two. So Tennessee's going to have to create pressure, and they're going to have to stop the run. And if they do that, then it's probably not going to be close. So I haven't come up with a score yet in my head, but I mean, I think Tennessee wins by 15 or 20. And if Kentucky's offense can't do anything similar to LSU's a couple of weeks ago, then it could be far more than just 15 or 20 that Tennessee wins by.
All right, man, I appreciate you coming on. Always enjoy your work. When you agreed to come on, man, really enjoyed what you brought for the Alabama game. Appreciate you coming back on again. We'll do it again, man. I'll reach out. We'll get you back on. Really enjoy it. Really enjoy it. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I appreciate you asking me. Enjoy what you do, and here anytime you need me.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night. You
too, buddy.
All right, we're going to transition here, get JP and Dauber on the show. I want to run down a couple of quick ones real quick. Trey Elder becomes a member of the channel. John Bobinette also becomes a member of the channel, as well as Sean Templeton. Thank you guys for the support. You guys get access to custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, fan call-in shows, all kinds of fun stuff, but also you're keeping the lights on around here. You're keeping the lights on in the Talkin VAWLS studio, which we appreciate. Look, 17,000 subscribers. We hit 17,000 subscribers just this week. Absolutely amazing. I see JP's face in the back studio, and he's shedding a tear. He cannot believe that we've got 17,000 subscribers on this channel. But if you guys can go a step further, 99 cents a month, you can join the channel. There is strength in numbers. Let's get those memberships rolling in. Also, go check out the official merchandise of the Talkin VAWLS Network. You can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You can see that scoreboard shirt there. Vols 52, Bama 49. Got that sweet cigar, and it's just business. It's just business. I mean, that's what Henry Toa said, so we might as well put it on a T-shirt and make some money on it. So go check out the scoreboard shirt. But all the old faithfuls as well, Vols by 50, you guys know the deal. It don't matter, Vols by 50, but check them out, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. The link is in the description as well. And then there's this. We don't beat Kentucky. We own Kentucky. We are Kentucky's daddy. And I told you guys, if we got 1,000 people in here, 1,000 people in the chat, we would give away 2 free Kentucky's Daddy T-shirts. We got almost 500 people in it. We're halfway there. So if everybody shares this thing out, hit that share button right now while we're on a commercial break. Let's double the live chat, and we'll double the shirts. We'll give away 4 free T-shirts. There are strength in numbers. Go to Twitter, blast the link out, put it on Facebook, call up your uncle, your aunt, tell somebody that Talkin VAWLS is live. We get 1,000 people in here. We're going to give away free shirts, and we're going to lose a lot of money right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network, but you guys deserve it. So share that thing out. Let's see if we can blow up the chat. But again, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Let's get these two jokers on here. Dauber JP. JP, what's up, buddy? I feel like you've not been on this channel in about 7 weeks.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm doing good. How about y'all?
Look at that suntan.
Yeah, suntan. Suntan for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, how are we doing? I feel like me and Dauber just talked, I don't know, about 12 hours ago. It feels like something like that.
I know. You guys on here all the time. All the time. That's what I was sitting there thinking. I don't, after old Ben sitting there talking about it, I don't know what else that really we can talk about. Really, I think that he hit all the high nails.
Well, that's the fun part about it, because you've not been on here in a couple of weeks. So we really wanted to get you on here and pick your brain, man. Like, when was the last time you were on, after the Florida win? Were you on the Wednesday after Florida, or did you miss the Florida win, the LSU, and the Alabama win?
No, I missed the LSU and the Bama.
He was on the Wednesday before LSU, weren't you?
Think so.
So you got to celebrate that Florida win just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But man, everybody in the chat's like so sad. JP's not here. Like, they know Alabama is your game. They know that. They realize the OGs know how much that game means to you.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm still celebrating it. I still am. Just an absolutely awesome performance. I mean, anybody that's watched this show for several years knows how down that I've been on this program, and just to think that within 17 to 18 games of the Josh Heupel era that we beat Bama. It was just unbelievable. Again, we were down there in Florida. There was 4 Tennessee fans sitting in that bar watching that game, and at the end of it, there was only 4 true Tennessee fans, but the entire bar was singing Rocky Top. I was up screaming. I mean, it was just, having to honestly just like pinch yourself, because you just really couldn't believe it, So just a absolute huge win, obviously, and I was sitting there, and Bama was driving that last drive, and I looked over at Brandy and I said, I promise you, win or lose, I said, I'm so proud of this team for, fighting and playing with the way that they did. I mean, it was just absolutely awesome for sure. But, you got to move on. So, move on to the next one. And, obviously that game last week against UT Martin came at the most perfect time. With that, but yeah, that's the thing. When you're in this situation now, sitting here 7-0, and last night I was watching TV, and that college football top 25 special or whatever weekly special that I hadn't probably watched in 10 years, because there was no reason to, because all it does is just make you mad. And then, just to be able to watch that stuff again and actually enjoy it, it's just awesome. And, I'm just enjoying the ride, but the more that you win, the more obviously that each game matters more and more and more. So I have to admit, I've been nervous all week. I have been nervous all week.
Isn't it funny that the chat is all kissing JP's butt? It's so great to have JP back. It's so great to see I love JP's back. This is a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful thing. And then Donovan does this and drops a 50 spot, and everybody immediately starts saying, we don't care, JP, shut up, Boogie, play the clip. Like, immediately they turn on JP. So, it's a 50 spot. We got to play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
Donovan with a 50 spot. Thank you, Donovan. Very generous. Says Vols 48, Kentucky 17. And then he says something else, but I don't think we need to read the rest of that. So we can go ahead and move. He says this super chat is for JP.
Blurry on my screen.
Glad you're on. Sorry, Boogie. Sorry, Boogie.
Hey, JP, let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
So with the way this season's gone, going into the Alabama game undefeated, when you woke up, I know that midweek JP is very different than game day JP. Mm-hmm. But when you woke up Saturday morning, did it feel different? because for me, Boogie and I got on. We did a pregame show before the Alabama game, and I was down in Atlanta with some friends, and we were talking, hanging out, and I said, you know what? I told my buddy Rich, let's get some cigars, because I had confidence. Not that this team would necessarily go win and beat Alabama, but I had confidence that they could go toe-to-toe and play competitively against Alabama. And looking at what this team's done and what this coaching staff has done, it feels different.
It
and
does.
like you said, now every game, you're sitting with that big goose egg on the right hand side. It makes every other game that much more important. But doesn't it feel a little different?
Yeah, it certainly did. That Saturday, of course, we were down there and on vacation and stuff. But that entire week, leading up to that game and stuff, I just felt different. Yes, I felt like that Tennessee could play with Bama this time, and sure enough that they did, and they beat them. They beat them. And I've had so much fun listening and reading these stuff about these Alabama fans crying. Oh my gosh! It has been hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But biggest bunch of sore losers that ever lived, and the fact that they can sit there with a straight face and complain about the refereeing is just beyond crazy.
Somebody actually commented on a video today and commented and basically said something about paying the referees. I just responded and said, yeah, it's great. We've got so much money that we can pay them, and I love winning. Like, we're going to pay them this week, too. We're going to pay them to beat Kentucky. We'll pay them to beat Georgia. We'll pay them all. I love it. I don't care. Let's just keep winning.
Well, and I'll just say this, and I'll shut up about Bama because, forget them. Who cares? But if you still don't believe that there's bias for Bama in the SEC, then look no further than this Saban deal with this Burton fiasco, because I guarantee you, if there's any other coach in the Southeastern Conference that does what Saban did and didn't suspend him and then come out and say that he was fearing for his safety and he was scared and all that stuff, the national media, ESPN, Sankey would have reprimanded them the whole 9 yards. But because it's Nick Saban, then he gets a pass, and that carries over into all of this stuff. And yes, I was shocked at the penalties that Bama had that game. Absolutely shocked. Absolutely shocked. It blew me away that Bama got called for that many penalties, especially the holding penalties, because that's the ones that they tend to always get away with, is those. So,
you look at going back to the Texas game against Alabama. On the road, hostile environment, and it just shows and supports that Alabama team is different. They're undisciplined, and I think that there is some parity. Of course, you had Bryce Young hurt. Didn't know if he was going to play. Listen, he came out. He played a heck of a game.
Oh, he played out of his mind. His mind.
There were times where I thought, man, he can't get back up. He's not going to play anymore. And he just kept getting back up and kept playing. Hats off to him, because I totally underestimated maybe the value of a shot in your shoulder. But he played a heck of a ball game. I do think that Hendon Hooker was the better quarterback on the field that night, by far. You look at the game plan that Josh Heupel had. The offensive scheme. That coaching staff completely outcoached Alabama's coaching staff.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt. They had no answer for our offense. Zero answer.
You look at I've got a coworker who is a diehard Alabama fan, and he was saying, man, after the second touchdown, you think they would figure out I've got to guard Jalen Hyatt. And I said, well, whoa. It's not that they're not guarding him. It's that the tempo and, Josh Heupel is setting up, 3 plays ahead based on the personnel in to create those mismatches and the space to allow him to run by a linebacker or run into open space. And that is exactly what this offense is designed to do. And that's when it's working, that is what makes it so successful.
That's the difference between Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hyatt is matchup. He's just running by people. Cedric Tillman's a lot of 50-50 ball, go up, make plays. Whereas Jalen Hyatt, like I said it after the Bama game. Like I'm sitting there watching the Josh Heupel show, like I've got a clicker, like rewinding. I'm like, what? My poor wife's sitting there like, would you shut up? I'm trying to do it. And I'm like, well, what? Just watch this right here. Look how open Jalen Hyatt is wide open all night long. But I want to come back to something because I don't remember which one of you mentioned year 2. And it seems like so many times on this channel throughout the course of the 7 to 8 years we've been doing this thing that we always get to year 2. And that's when people like me started making excuses. And it's like, well, you got to give them time, right? You got to give them time to get their talent in there, get their recruits in there. And there was always this conversation of legitimate coaches take a huge step in year 2. And now we're seeing that unfold with Josh Heupel. A lot of people comparing this football team to that LSU team that went and won a national championship. And at this point, I'm whatever happens, man. Like the sky's the limit. The national championship's not out of the question. It is very possible for this team to go win a national championship.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, with this offense, I don't think that we can really put into just. This team absolutely destroyed a Saban coached Alabama defense. That's got, Will Anderson, that's all we heard. Will Anderson is going to live in the backfield. He's going to put pressure on Hendon Hooker. Will Anderson didn't make very many plays at all that game.
One tackle and half a tackle for a loss.
Yeah. So, just and obviously, hats off to the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Obviously offensive line is one of the big reasons why that Tennessee's 7-0 right now. There's no denying that, and so happy for that offensive line and those kids, and you've got Carvin down there that has been down there for 5 or 6 years, and has stuck it out, and lived through the Pruitt stuff, and heck, who knows? Was he even down there? Was he a Butch Jones recruit? I don't even know. But still, you got kids like that, and then you got Cooper Mays, the hometown kid that he could have went somewhere else, but he decided that he was going to stay home and play for the Vols, and that's the thing, just to see those type of players that have stuck it out, to have success like that. Tillman even, obviously I hate that he's been hurt for, most of the season now, and he's not been able to, show off his skills, but hopefully that will get him back Saturday, and at least a limited capacity there. But yeah, anybody that would have said that this team would be 7-0 this year, there's no way. But again, like I said earlier, I'm just going to enjoy it until it keeps on going. And yes, that first loss, dang, whenever it comes, man, oh man, you talk about it's going to sting and it's going to hurt. But I tell you what, I would rather have that feeling than the feeling I've had the last 5 or 6 years when.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's bothered me so much these last 5, 6, 7, 8 years is going into those Bama games like that, knowing that you have no chance, whatsoever. And yes, as a fan, I would always be like, oh yeah,
what if?
Yeah. I'd be sitting there thinking, if we could do this or we could do that, we could pull the upset off. And then I'm sitting down there in Neyland and it's 21-0 and there's 8 minutes left still in the first quarter, and I'm looking over at Brandy like I'm ready to go. It's just, stuff like that. But just absolutely loving it.
I had never left a game early until a Georgia game, probably
2017.
Yes. and my buddy that I was down there with, he sent me a text and said, man, I'm getting really, I said, I'm already back at the tailgate. and it was just, I was on top of G10 watching people just file out. And it was a low point, such a low point of being a Tennessee fan. And, to see, people like Gabe and Xavier and all these people talking about, well, I've never seen Tennessee be successful. And to, sit with my kids and watch a game and to think my kids have never seen, Tennessee like I saw in their heyday, in the 90s and early 2000s. And, that's what, we've talked about it on this show before. That's what it is. It gets in you, and it's something about that bond that you share with people. The three of us were down there when we broke the streak against Florida. Boogie and I were sitting together. We tailgated with you. My son running around last Saturday with his Manning jersey on, and sitting and watching the UT Martin game with me and asking questions, and that is what it's about. And the fact that I get to share this success and this happiness when before it had driven you to apathy, and it was one of those, okay, well, it's halftime, we're down by 21, let's go find something else to do, or you even previously, like Boogie said so many times, I've skipped birthday parties, I've skipped this, and I've skipped that watching a Tennessee game.
I've skipped a lot.
Well, but it's been so much easier the last little bit to say, you know what, yeah, Tennessee's playing, but I'll go do this instead because I already know the outcome. And it's changing.
I know. Yeah. If this keeps up, I may have to start rethinking the fall vacations because that was the only reason why that I'd agreed that I'd start taking vacations in the fall. And but I will say I've thought about maybe flying back down to Florida next weekend to watch the game in that bar because we've watched 4 games down there and each time we've won. We're 4-0, so maybe I need to make another trip back down there to Florida just to watch that game next Saturday. But first things first, we got to take care of the mouth cats for sure.
Well,
but no,
if you would let me read these super chats, we may be able to fly you down there on the Talkin VAWLS jet. Apparently, the two guys that I host the show with can't take a break to breathe long enough for me to read super chats, and they don't read the private chat in the back. We got Big Vol Daddy in the back room. Going to get him on here in just a second. I've been talking to him while these two guys have been having a conversation for the last 20 minutes. I was talking to BVD in the back. Going to get him on. Why not? This is the perfect opportunity to do it. And I know some of you are going, why are you all not talking about Kentucky? Ben McKee did a great job breaking that game down. Me and Gabe are going to be live in the morning at 9 a.m., and we're going to kind of dive into the Kentucky game too. But JP's not been on here in a while, so I thought it would be fun to kind of just talk about the season as a whole, and it would be a good time to get Big Vol Daddy on here as well and kind of get his thoughts. Always want to get Big Vol Daddy on here, so it's going to be fun. Let me run through this super chats, then we'll get him on. Captain Woodland for 5 said, all right, JP, you've been promising to sing Rocky Top if we beat Bama since 2018. Let's hear it. No, JP, let's not. JP
Thank
sang
you.
Rocky Top after the Florida game.
Yeah.
So if you want to see that, go back to that post-game show, and it was painful. I don't recommend you do that. M5 for 5. The goalpost was not wide enough per NCAA rules. That's why it's in the river. Yeah, the hashtag Bama excuses. Donovan with another 5. Thank you for Super Chat, Donovan. David Pollock said Tennessee has not been tested. Is the craziest thing I've heard all year. Tuesday night, the Vols will be number 1. Mark it down. You know, Donovan, I put out the video kind of responding to that when you asked me to make a video on it. I think what he meant was people thought they were going to challenge Tennessee, but they didn't deliver. And maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see the exact quote that you were talking about, but I did see that he put Tennessee on upset alert. That's what the video was about. Joshua for 5, Tennessee 42, Kentucky 21. Imagine Heupel's offense when he gets his own recruits in. Going to be scary. Can we get a Saban mad face emoji? Yes, we can do that. How about we get some more members in here, and we'll get a Saban mad face emoji rolling. Somebody wanted a Ben McKee emoji, too. Jacob for 5. Hey, Boogie, I'm only 22, so can you imagine my ride as a ball fan? My question is, how do the older fans feel about the gray and black? I think all three of us love them, right?
Wear them. I care less. Wear them.
I love them. I'm a big fan of uniforms. Carl for 5. Heupel and Golish kept their cheetah package off the field. Running the ball on second down successfully was the key. Great coaching. That seems to be an ongoing theme, Carl, is coaching, which you love to see. Wade Rouse, who has the Talkin VAWLS State Pride logo tattooed on his arm forever, with a $5 super chat, said it felt different for me that Bama week for sure. Felt like we had a great chance to finally get it done, and we did so. Now I have me a great tat. Love it, Wade. Like, I love it. And the tattoo looks great. Looks clean. Looks fresh. I love it. Big fan of it. We got us 550 people watching live. You guys got us up to almost 600. So I'm gonna lay down a new challenge. If we get to 750, that's the midway point. It's just 200 more people in here. We get to 750, I'll give away 2 shirts. We get to 1,000, we'll give away 4 shirts. So share this thing out, blow it up. Let's get Big Vol Daddy on here and just keep this conversation flowing, man. I'm excited. BVD, how you feeling, buddy? What are your thoughts? 7-0, 8 weeks into the season, man.
Unbelievable. All off season I kept saying we were going to go 10-2. Part of me believed it. Part of me didn't. And then I remember I'd forgotten totally about the LSU game. And I thought, man, that's 3 or 4 huge games. No way we're going to win all of those. So I dropped my expectations down to 9-3. But now, man, just like you guys have been talking about, the sky's the limit. Why not Tennessee? Good comparison one of my friends made earlier was Auburn when they won it with lightning in a bottle with Cam Newton. Why can't we do that?
Let's do it.
We've got just enough defense, I think, to beat Georgia. I know we got to play Kentucky. I get it. But like you said, we're fans, man. We can talk about whatever we want. And it's not going to have any outcome or bearing on this game whatsoever.
That's a huge point. You said 7-0, and going into the season, I think the majority of us had, 2 to 3 of these wins as toss-up games, and the Alabama game as a loss.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've picked up all those. So, I mean, it's almost like we said the other night, playing with house money. Mm-hmm. So,
house money's good.
Good feeling.
It's been a long time since we've had any house money, let alone played with it.
I know it, but now after you beat Bama and you are 7-0 and you went to LSU and you spanked them and you got the Florida monkey off your back, and again you're sitting here at 7-0, and that's what I was saying. I mean, it makes every single game that much bigger. So but I feel like like Ben was saying, and this team stays or so far this year that they have shown that they can stay in the zone and they don't get outside of their skis or over their skis or whatever that you want to say, that they focus in and they don't let the moment get bigger, too big for them. And I fully expect that Saturday. Yes, I mean, I think we get Kentucky's best shot. I really do. Yeah. I think that having Rodriguez back, this is his 4th game back. I think that they will come out and there's a ton of hatred between these two fan bases. We don't like each other, and they can't stand it because we've started beating them in basketball. I went up there to a game one time. I went up there a game in 2009. I don't know how many people remember that, the Kiffin year, and we won in overtime. I'm not for sure that I would be sitting here if we hadn't won that game in overtime, because they would have probably killed us, probably. I mean, it was that bad.
I think probably the most fun that I'm having right now out of this season is the fact that everybody's talking about Tennessee. And it's not so much that everybody's talking about Tennessee, it's all the hate that people have for the fact that people are talking about Tennessee. Well, guess what? We've been the damn, excuse my language, we've been the doormat of college football for so many years. Let us have our moment, you know. I don't think it's going to stop any of us from enjoying it or talking about it, but it sure is fun to see all the haters out there, especially some of the younger guys that don't know what Tennessee winning football games is all about. I'm talking about younger fans of the other fan bases. So soak it all in, young guys, and enjoy it. Hopefully we're back to stay for a while.
Yeah,
that's what I keep saying is soak it in. Like, and it's a weird thing because Tennessee won the national championship. Me and Dauber were seniors in high school. JP was sophomore in college. Like, we were young, and I'll speak. We did. I was going to say I'll speak for myself, but I think we all did. Like, we enjoyed it. I remember where I was at. I soaked it in. But I took it for granted. And now it's this cool thing where, within the last 8 years or so, we started this channel and it's grown and adapted and changed, and now it's blowing up. It's so much fun to get on here and talk with other Tennessee fans. And like, now it's all recorded. It's all being tracked. And we're just, I keep saying, enjoy it. Stop stressing. Stop saying, what if Tennessee doesn't show up? What if Tennessee overlooks Kentucky? What if Georgia beats? Who cares, man? Like, just show up on Saturday and enjoy that. Like, that's the beauty. JP and Dauber talking about it earlier. How did you feel going into the Alabama game? Were you nervous? Were you stressed? Were you doubting? How did you feel about it? And it's like, man, just looking back on that game, like grown men shedding tears because that game meant so much. Enjoy every single Saturday. The chat's now yelling at me, telling me to shut up. Robert McKee for 10. Thank you for super chat. Says Vols by 50. I'm down with that. Let's just go beat the brakes off of Kentucky. And then Cheapskate Wayne only gives $1 a month to this channel, but he's given $100 in the last 2 nights. Drops a 50 spot. We got to play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 million man.
This sums up my exact feelings. Wayne for $50. Thank you, Wayne. Very generous. Had us going 8-4 when the season started. My confidence grew with each game. This team is in the moment with their feet planted and focused on the task at hand. Go Vols. That's where I'm at, man. Like, I was at 8-4, and it's this ongoing almost joke between me and Eric Kane now where it's like he comes on here, I go on there, and we're like, okay, well, another win's in the books. What are your expectations now? They just keep shifting and changing. BVD, I know you. That's what you said earlier, man. You were talking about your expectations going into the year. Now here we are. Why not Tennessee? Why not just go 12-0? Go to Atlanta, win an SEC championship, go win a national championship. Why not?
Man, that would be so brutal on some of the other fan bases. I think that would just about give me as much joy as actually winning the Natty. I can't stress it enough, man. For us older guys, some of and I'm not knocking the young guys. We have to have the young guys, and I love all the young fans on here, but some of these young guys, man, they have been just brutal on us Tennessee fans over the last 10, 15 years. And so I guess maybe it's time to give a little dose of it back. I've kept my mouth shut pretty much all year for obvious reasons with the health thing, but I'm kind of going to maintain status quo for the rest of this year until. In the past, I'd come on here every week before a game and say, "Oh, we're going to beat Team X to death this week," knowing that we probably didn't have a shot at winning. So now I'm just going to keep my mouth shut each week and watch the wins keep stacking up and enjoy every single moment of it. 43 years now of watching this football team, and this may be top 5, one of my top 5 favorite seasons of all time so far. so far.
Hey, BVD, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest difference between this Josh Heupel coach team in year 2 versus previous coaching staffs?
I think it's pretty simple, and a lot of the so-called professionals talk about it. Culture, and it's like these guys. You hear the saying all the time. These guys have run through a brick wall for whatever coach, and it almost seems like they will. Whatever Heupel asks, they do. And I know I'm pretty close with one of the guys on the team. He's not a starter, but he's gotten in 5 games this year. So I kind of keep in touch with him a little bit about what's going on down there, and they all love him. And I think they just all believe. They believe what he's selling, and that goes a long way with any sports program. If you're not buying what your coach is selling, like Pruitt, that guy he seemed like he was full of crap, So yeah, I hope we've got this guy for the long haul. The Oklahoma crap that's been going on all year. I personally don't think Heupel will leave us high and dry, regardless of what happens this year. But you never know. As Tennessee fans, we're trained now to expect the unexpected. So I can't stress it enough. I'm just rolling with the punches, baby. Bring it on.
You guys think too, culture's huge. And I feel like that's where we were year 1. We got to change the culture and get people to buy in. And we've talked it to death, but Heupel coming in and sitting down and saying, "What do you need from me?" and being a true leader. But JP, you've not been on the channel since the Alabama win, and I've talked it multiple times. One of my favorite things from that game was when Alabama missed the field goal. And Josh Heupel never batted an eye. There was never a celebration. There was never a, "Oh my gosh, thank you, Lord, we have a chance." There was no, "Okay, what do we do?" There was never a, "We're going to take a knee and play for overtime." He immediately turned, grabbed the play sheet, and was going to win the football game. How much value do you put on the fact that Josh Heupel played at the elite level? He was a Heisman Trophy candidate. He won a national championship. He's been there, done that. All the comparisons to Red October when he came in, that's been a fun conversation we've had over the last couple of weeks. Comes in 7-5 next year off season. He says, "Hey, we're going to go win a natty," and there they go. And people didn't believe, and then they're like, "Oh, wait a second, we got a shot." And now all the comparisons. How much do you put into that? Yeah, the culture's huge, and I feel like they established that and changed that in year 1. But now in year 2, I feel like they are feeding off of his confidence. Like, it's not arrogance, it's confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Personally, I think that that's probably one of the biggest keys to this is that he is confident, and he is committed to this offensive philosophy too. I mean, it doesn't matter, what score is. It doesn't matter, obviously, who they're playing. He is committed. He believes that him and Golish can draw up plays, and they've proven it. I mean, they are going to get kids open, and this offense is going to click, and these players, I feel like that they are feeding into that, and they're having fun too, Boogie. There was always, no matter who the coach was, going back to Dooley and Butch Jones and then Pruitt, I mean, there was always some type of internal turmoil that was going on. And yes, I know we've had a couple of players that's been kicked off the team for various things, stupid things that they've done, and with that, but those things have not had an impact on this football team and this coaching staff, and just the way that Heupel interacts with the media. I mean, he never gets aggravated with them, or he never smarts off to them, anything like that. So I think it's just his calmness, and yes, the fact that he has personally played in high pressure situations like that when he was at Oklahoma. So whatever he's doing, keep it up, whatever he's doing.
Let me hit some super chats real quick, Dauber, sit on that point. Let me hit these super chat. Well, actually, go ahead because there's a big one. Go ahead.
I'll throw this in there. One thing to piggyback on what you said, Boogie, was I think year one was getting the team to buy in, and you saw that momentum. You go back to last year's win over an 18th ranked Kentucky team, is 45-42 shootout. Josh Heupel's first win over a top 25 team as a Tennessee coach. That was a springboard into this 2022 season. And year two is getting the fan base to buy in, getting the fan base behind this program and the momentum and everything going. And the floor is yours, sir.
Let me run through some super chats real quick. I've been corrected. I've been saying an orange Celian. But when it's all together, I don't know how to read these names. It's an orange sea line, hence the profile picture with an orange sea line. For $10, thank you for the super chat. Do in 2 years what Mark Stoops can't do in 10. Vols by 50. You don't believe in this team. It's your BVS, and you need to exercise that demon. Spoiler alert for Friday's episode of Locked On Vols. I said the cure to battered Vol syndrome is Josh Heupel. That's the cure for it. Jordan Richards for 2. I'm a simple man. I see BVD. I donate. Well, hey, we can just get BVD on here every single second that we are live. I mean, we'll make it happen. Every time I see BVD in the chat, I'm like, I'm going to post the link. All you listeners must ignore the link. We want to get BVD on here. Always a pleasure to have him hanging out with us. Jody Wooten for 5. I've been saying 10-2 since spring. Just had a feeling. Looks like even that was underestimating this team. It's funny because so many people leading into the season say 10-2, 12-0, undefeated. Feels like 98. But, man, this year's been different. Here's the big one. Donald Tyler Francis for a hundo. Man, that is very generous. Very, very generous. We appreciate the super chat, Donald, and we got to play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 million man.
Donald for a hundo says, I'm 32, been bleeding orange since birth. My dream is to go to Atlanta with our Vols. Feel like that dream is coming true. Go Vols, love the show. Thank you all for doing it. Let's go destroy Kentucky and put the fear in Georgia and the rest of the nation. 32, so he would have been like 8 or 9 years old in 98. Even somebody that's 8 or 9, they obviously they didn't appreciate it. We didn't appreciate it as high school seniors. They didn't appreciate it. BVD, what do you think? You know, you've kind of talked about the younger generation. How big, like this is a conversation we have on here all the time about, and Dauber specifically, we talk about having kids and people that don't pull for Tennessee and the bandwagon fans. And you see these, 7, 8, 9-year-olds running around with Alabama stuff on and Ohio State and Clemson. Like, how important is it to see that next generation of Tennessee fans, kids showing up at school? It's cool to watch the Little League World Series and see kids saying Drew Gilbert's their favorite player and Tennessee's their favorite team, man. Like, I just got chills just saying it because that's how much I know you're the same as the three of us. You love Tennessee. How important is it to see that next generation of Tennessee fans?
It's huge. Excuse me. It's huge. I mean, I don't know about the three of you guys, but that's how I came up. I grew up seeing it. My dad, my papa, everybody in my family, big Tennessee fans. And I'm talking about the days when I was little and I'd see my papa out riding in the field with a transistor radio on Saturday listening to the ball. I didn't actually get to go to my first game until 1980. And by then I was 14, but still, I think it's huge for these young guys. It's kind of surprising the way so many people seem to be front runners, I guess is the word. Everybody wants to latch on to the best team. That's why you see, like in Greenville, man, I see so many Alabama stickers and gear and stuff. It just makes my stomach churn. And of course, now I think we're going to start to see the Tennessee stuff come back, and I'm okay with that. Whatever it takes to get these youngins back in our corner. Get them. If you got kids and you haven't taken them to Tennessee to a game, get them to a game. If that don't do it, nothing's going to do it. So it did it for me. And my daughter, she doesn't know the difference between a football and a can of Coke, but she went to the She went to the game last weekend against UT Martin with a bunch of her friends, and I've taken her before. Actually, Dauber, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she went to a game with me and Flint a couple of years ago, and she had a good time. But for some reason, this time she's a little bit older now. She's 22. She really enjoyed it, and I'm glad. I didn't get to go, of course, but I was glad to see her go and have a good time and enjoy the experience. And I think she may finally have the blood in her now. So I've been trying for 22 years to beat it into her. Obviously not literally, but
He's a Nick Saban there.
Almost every time I see her now, she's got some kind of Tennessee gear on, so something's going right somewhere.
That's good.
That's
yeah.
That's probably exactly the same. Exactly the same. Grew up Tennessee fan, watching games with my grandfather, my dad. This is probably one of my favorite things that I have, working on getting ready to get it framed.
Oh, that's cool, Dauber. Wow. Yeah.
Still my favorite game.
Yeah, that was my father's.
Oh wow! I got chills again. Second time in one stream.
It's something that after my dad passed away when I was a sophomore at UT, so I got that from my mom, and it's just brings back a lot of memories sitting watching games with my dad, and being able to now watch games with my son and kind of transfer that legacy and that passion and that love for this beautiful color and our state school. The fact that I went to school there, it means a lot to me. I have a lot of pride and a lot of passion. I've got a lot of tattoos on my arm here. The state bird, state flower, state tree, TriStar. I love this state. I love the university, but it is something that it means a lot when you have those moments in your past and you have those moments that you can pass on to your future. And for me, that's what it's about. And for me, that's why I am enjoying this ride and I am enjoying this season. But yeah, BVD, like you said, it is. Once it bites you, once it gets in you, man, it's something else. Yeah.
It's why you've got grown men crying over an Alabama football game. It's why I talked about going from emotional to excitement to anger to pissed off to depressed, because here we go again to right back to excitement. And it's like, it's just, man, once you're hooked, you're hooked. And, I love the old quote. Everybody's heard it. For those that believe, no explanation is needed. For those that don't, no explanation will do. It's the same thing with Tennessee. Like, The four of us, we get it. When somebody gets married in the fall on a Saturday, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? And the three of you get it. You're like, what is wrong with you? And then people on the outside are like, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you mean? Why would you not get married? Don't get married in the fall, especially on freaking Alabama week. What's wrong with you? Because now for the rest of your life, every single anniversary is going to fall in the middle of football season. Let's not start that rant. Let me clear some super chats real quick, and then I want to jump into Kentucky and talk about it just a little bit. Seth Justice for 5. Thank you, Seth. I think we beat the Kitties comfortably, so I'm still on uniform talk. Do you think we go orange helmet, white jersey, orange pants, or go all white at UGA? I think UGA is going to be clean, normal. I think because they've talked about sticking traditional for rivalries.
Is UGA a rival though?
Yeah.
I think they'll save it for South Carolina.
Yeah, I do.
I think you'll see that orange helmet for South Carolina.
We'll be either the stormtroopers or the
orange pants
or the orange pants. Yeah.
That's what I see
at
too.
Georgia, but it'll be white helmet.
I think so too. John B for 2. So go ahead, BVD. What were we saying?
I'm going to ask if you guys like the orange pants with the white jerseys. I love that look myself.
Big time.
I do too.
100%.
I do too.
And I think the orange helmet will pop with that look.
The orange pants take me back to sitting with my grandfather, watching, Reggie White and those. That is what I remember as a kid was those orange pants, and I hated that it took so long to bring them back to something that, hey, this is tradition. We're going to wear this.
Fulmer wouldn't wear them a lot.
No, not at all.
Like them. Of course. I think
There's a reason for that. Majors loved them. Yeah, that's exactly why. That's exactly why. John B for 2, thank you for super chat, says BVD is the original Vol OG. I don't disagree with that. Thank you for super chat, John B. Dan Yoder for 5. I love when Heupel says they practice well, and then you realize it is not coach speak. These guys are fully bought in 24/7. Yeah. I love Josh Heupel. JP said it earlier, like the way he's comfortable with the media. Like they ask about injuries, and he makes jokes about it. Like he's like, yeah, I'm going to lie to you, so we'll just laugh about it. Hunter for 5, thank you for super chat. I haven't been able to catch the last few shows, so I'm not sure if we talked about this, and I know it's far out, but is South Carolina getting hot, or is it a fluke? They suck. Go watch the emotional response to Week 8 of the SEC, and you can see me absolutely destroy South Carolina and destroy, I don't know what the South Carolina podcast is. What is it? Spurs up. Absolutely annihilate those guys too. So go watch that video. South Carolina sucks, and I was hyping them all offseason. So spoiler alert. Cody for 5. Thank you, Cody. Flying up from Florida for this game. First game in Neyland after 28 years of fandom. What are the things that I must do? Yeah, I mean, if you've never been to a game, you got to do the ball walk. You got to be in the stadium for running through the tee.
Watch
find the tailgate.
For the ball walk too. Get there way early for the ball walk, so you won't actually get to see it.
From everything I've seen and heard about this year, it is,
Akron was packed. Akron was packed.
Deep, and it's just nuts. But yeah, I would try to get there early enough to do the ball walk. Get into the stadium early and watch the band.
Oh yeah, you got to.
That's something that I have grown to appreciate as I've gotten older, and it is just it's remarkable.
Go ahead, Doc. Sorry.
I'll throw this out there. When I was in school, I helped out with marketing and did a few things. And funny enough, the athletic department answering machine would get messages pretty much every Sunday, Monday, after a game, and people will be calling and complaining about the band. The trumpet player on the 45-yard line was 2 steps out of formation, and all this and that. And the guy that was over marketing was like, yeah, that's really not our thing, but it was just funny. But it is something that it is impressive, and the pride of the Southland is top notch. And to watch their pregame, their halftime stuff, it's just another feather in the cap for a volunteer fan.
It's been years since I've done this down there, but they used to have it there in the outside or right there at the football complex where you could go in there and they had a bunch of their the trophies and a bunch of jerseys, about the former players and so forth like that in there. I don't know if you can still get in there on game days or not, but that was always cool. I've done that a couple of times. I think so. Yeah.
Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, I believe.
Yeah, with that. But yeah, definitely have to go to the Vol Walk for sure. And like Dauber was saying, make sure that you get in there in plenty of time before the band. Like the PA announcer says, it is a pregame tradition unrivaled in college football. You talk about putting goosebumps on you and making the hair on the back of your head stand up. It will absolutely do it. It will
every time. No matter what. Every time.
But yeah, but for a big game like Saturday night, it's going to be lit. The dark mode jerseys, 7-0, ranked number 3, undefeated, Wildcats in there. I'm telling you what. I mean, I'd like to be down there for sure. I mean, that would be. Oh, man, that gets me excited for sure. Cool story, Boogie, right quick, because I know that we have to go, but kind of tying this into, what this means for the younger fans and being diehards and growing up into this. nephew is 12. He was all excited. Tennessee beats Bama. My brother-in-law takes him to the ball game last Saturday. They go down to the Vol Walk. They're standing there. Players are coming down. He hollers at Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker comes over there, gives him a high five. My brother-in-law sends me a text and says Colton's got tears just running down his face. He's just crying like crazy.
I love it.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is the perfect age to get somebody hooked, and I'm just so excited. I just hope that this continues, because he was on vacation with us that first week, and he made a comment. He said, he said back several years ago when I was a Bama fan, which he was just, but which he wasn't, but how kids are, and stuff like that in that age. But I didn't say anything to him, but I'm sitting there thinking, thank you, Lord, that he's now a Tennessee fan. And that there's actually some excitement, that these younger folks. It is, but soak it in, like Boogie said, and certainly do not take it for granted, because golly, it has been a huge mountain to climb back up, and let's just stay on there for a while and keep this magical season going.
I would make a suggestion to the guy that said he's going to his first game this year. As much as I know you're going to enjoy it, maybe later this year or next year, pick a road game to go to.
Yeah.
For me personally, I love going to road games. Been a while since I've been to a road game that we actually won, but those were always just the most fun for me. There's just something great about taking over another team's stadium, and I would have given anything to have been at LSU this year. That would have been amazing, but. Yeah, just soak it all in. And to add one more thing to that conversation, I don't know, you guys talked a little bit about the pride and everything. If they do the circle drill at halftime, and I know a lot of football fans don't care anything about marching band, if they announce that they're going to do the circle drill at halftime, stay in your seat and watch the circle drill. It is amazing.
That is something else.
How those guys don't run into each other still amazes me.
So these guys talking all about traditions and the Vol Walk and family. Go find a tailgate and say, it's my first game. They'll give you beer and food all day long. That's all you got to say. Just say, it's my first game. I didn't know where to go. Can I hang out here? And you'll eat and drink for free all night long. Let me hit these last couple of super chats, and then we're going to talk. We'll make our Kentucky predictions and wrap the show up. Michael Davis for 536. The first real memory for me of Tennessee football was 98, the championship year. It's amazing to be contending for that again now. Man, I can't say it enough. It just feels right. It feels right.
It's that word that we've talked about, relevant. To be relevant again. To be in the talk. To be hosting game day. To be just to be talked about on game day.
That's what JP said earlier, watching shows, and it's like, I actually watch game day again because they actually talk about Tennessee.
They're going to talk about Tennessee, yeah.
I know, yeah. I mean, it's been years where I'd be like, I have no interest in watching this because it would make me so mad, because I'd be like, golly, I'm having to sit here and listen to them talk about Bama and Georgia and Florida and Ohio State and Clemson,
Coastal Carolina.
Yeah,
the funny thing is, that's why people like this channel, because they were as miserable as us, and other people out there in the media, they talk about the NBA, they talk about baseball, they talk about a bunch of BS. We get on here and talk about Tennessee and Tennessee only, and that's why people want to be here because of that. But it's fun, man. It's fun to check in and watch game day, and they're talking about Tennessee. Brent for 5, checker Vandy Field. If that happens, it's going to be an epic moment. Cody for 2, BVD, watch UT beat Florida in the swamp. Got it.
That would be amazing.
All right, let's move into Kentucky just briefly. We'll just go through around the room and give our predictions real quick. I'm going to make BVD go last. I'm going to let him go last and close us out. I'll go ahead and give mine because I already talked to Eric Kane and recorded our episode Friday. So spoiler alert, you've already heard this. Well, not really. You're getting a spoiler alert for Friday's episode of Locked On Vols. I don't think that Kentucky has the horsepower to keep up. I don't. And all the talk about a trap game and all that nonsense. And when I was looking at it and realized that Kentucky's beat Tennessee 5 times in my lifetime. We've owned Kentucky. We are Kentucky's daddy. That's why we sell the T-shirt. Kentucky's defense versus Tennessee's offense. Yeah, it's. We talked about this last night, Dauber. You can skew numbers and manipulate numbers all you want. Kentucky may only give up 16.4 points a game, 9th in the country, but that's because they eat the clock. They will let it wind all the way down to 1 and snap the ball. On the flip side of that, Tennessee, number 1 scoring offense in the country. I don't think Kentucky can keep up. And do they want to run the football? Is that what they want to do? Does Kentucky want to run the football? Because I dare them to run the football against this Tennessee defense because I like Tennessee's defense to stop the run, maybe force a couple of 3-and-outs early, maybe force a turnover early. Kentucky's going to be playing catch-up all night long. Vols roll 42-28. It's never close. We're never anxious. We're never nervous. Dauber, what do you got?
Man, it's like you just read my notes. You just were you?
I've got a spy.
My notes right here.
I've got a spy in your house that sends me your notes every week.
Jeez, I need to check in on that. So this Kentucky wants to run the ball. Kentucky wants to eat the clock. Kentucky wants to, shrink this game. But that doesn't matter because Tennessee can score. Tennessee moved the ball in 15 seconds down the field to kick a field goal against Bama. This offense is operating and clicking and moving at such a pace and at such efficiency that there is not a team in this country that can hang. The only way Tennessee is in a close ball game Saturday or the rest of the season is if they beat themselves.
Fair enough.
Listen, I know my boy Gabe has been making bold accusations and throwing stuff out there. But that seriously, Tennessee, their biggest opponent is themselves the rest of the season. Because this team, as long as the offense is clicking, the defense just has to do enough. It is not the days of Tennessee has to play perfect football. Offensively, they have to make all the stops defensively. The defense just has to do enough to slow down the other team. We saw that 2 weeks ago against Alabama. You slow them down. You flip the field a couple times. You hold them to a punt twice in the first half. You hold them to a field goal attempt at the end of the game. That's the difference. You score 52 points against Alabama. This offense can score against anybody in the country. So the only way that Tennessee hangs up is if they catch themselves. I said earlier in the show, you go back to last year's win over Kentucky. That was Josh Heupel's first win over a top 25 team as a coach at Tennessee. That set the table for this 2022 season. That set the table to go 7-0 and pick up 4 wins over top 25 teams to this point. So that makes his 5th win over top 25 team. The offensive line has been playing their best football of late. You run against for 100 and I think it was 85 yards against Alabama. Man, when have we ran for that much against Alabama? This offense is clicking. I'm telling you. Dark mode, night game, nightmare at Neyland. The Vols are 7-0. It's going to be electric. That atmosphere that was bottled up and encompassed the Alabama game, it's going to be the same. Tickets are again, it's insane. It is nuts. If you want to try to get into the stadium on Saturday, the Vols are going to roll. They're going to continue to be Kentucky's daddy. I've got Tennessee rolling 41-24.
Now's the perfect time to show this picture. Because Corey Odell put this together, and he said, hey, Gabe, show the picture. Anybody that hangs out late night talking Vols for the fan call-in show, anybody that enjoys the morning shows, 9 a.m. on Monday mornings. We're going to be going live tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. too. There's a little bit of a joke going around that Gabe is Dauber's son, and this picture popped up on Twitter, and pretty much it looks like it confirms that Gabe is Dauber's son. So Corey's in the chat. Corey put this together. I told him I would show it on stream. So there it is.
And Gabe also said Kentucky was not going to score 10 points.
I knew the chat's. I almost wanted to ask Ben what he thought about Kentucky only scoring 10 points. All right, enough shenanigans. JP, what do you got? Give me a quick rundown and give me a score prediction.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Tennessee would have to beat themselves, in my opinion, with this. We'd have to have multiple turnovers. One area that does give me some concern is special teams. I know that we haven't been punting much, but when we do, it looks horrible. Barry Brown is a true difference maker. For them, we have got to keep him from returning a kickback, making a big play to give them momentum and stuff like that. But, again, those things like that, limit that. But, like Dauber was saying, this offense is rolling. Kentucky doesn't for whatever reason, even though that they have good defensive stats, they haven't put a whole lot of pressure on the quarterback. And to me, you've got to find a way to disrupt Hooker with this offense, or it's going to be a long, long day for you. So, I think that this offensive line is going to show up again. I think Tennessee is going to be able to run the football, especially if Kentucky plays zone and tries to drop back. I think that you're going to see Heupel take advantage of that with this with the running game, and then if they do that, then boom. Jalen Hyatt over the top. Jalen Hyatt over the top. To me, I would love to sit here and say that this is going to be like a 50-52-17 type game. But again, I do feel like that Kentucky is coming off of a bye. I feel like that Rodriguez is getting back into the zone, and we have to give him credit. He is a good running back. He's very, very hard-nosed runner. I think Kentucky will give us our best shot. I think that they will keep this game close for a while, but at the end, the Big Orange pulls away. I'm going to say Tennessee 42, Kentucky 28.
Wait a second. Where have I heard that before, JP?
I know. Yeah.
Hey, great minds think alike. Quick super chat from Hunter real quick for 2. Boogie, what's the K on the hat stand for on Kentucky week? Kidding. It stands for Kentucky Can't Win. That's what it stands for. BVD, first and foremost, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always blows my mind when you're hanging out in the chat. And I'm like, hey, stop hanging out in the chat and get on here and work a little bit, because this chat loves you. They respect you. They're fans of you. So I appreciate you taking time to jump on here
that's like
and hang out.
Said earlier, a Tennessee Vol OG. And one of the pioneers in this YouTube Tennessee football, thing that we're kind of coming along.
I got humbled real quick when we passed VolQuest, and I said, we're the biggest YouTube channel on the freaking internet. And somebody said, no, you're not. Big Vol Daddy has more subscribers. I was like, okay, for now, we'll chase him down.
You guys blew by me a while back. Listen, I appreciate all the kind words. I am an OG. I'm an old guy. I hope to continue getting older, because I'm loving this ride. I do think you guys are all three wrong about one thing. I don't think we're Kentucky's daddy. I think we're their granddaddy. We've been on these guys for so long, that I stopped short of saying I feel sorry for them, because as Vol fans, we know what it feels like to get beat up on for so long by not just one, but 2 and maybe even 3 teams. So I'm going to stop short of saying I feel sorry for them. Originally, I had this as a 42-24 game. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I'm going to say 42-26. We'll give them we'll give them a 2 points somewhere along the ways. But just like you guys, this is old school football when you get right down to the bare bolts of it all. You got to run the ball. You got to stop the run. And nothing would make me happier to see us on our first drive. I was telling my roommate this the other night. I'd like to see us take our first drive and run like 12 run plays, one right after another, and take it down the field and take about 3 or 4 minutes to do it. And then from that point, just unleash hell on them. And if we get up 21-0 on this team, it's over.
Yes.
They're going to do just like last year. They're going to try to control the ball. They may control the ball. They may have it for 46 minutes again or whatever ridiculous stat that was last year. But it doesn't matter if we've only got it 4 minutes. If we score every time we touch it, you can keep it. But yeah, I'm going 42-26 Tennessee, and I think I forget which one of you guys said it because I am an old guy and my memory's escaping me. But I think this one's over early. I think it was Boogie said it was over early. No worries, no anxiety. I'll be anxious just because I'm a Tennessee fan, and I was anxious before the UT Martin game. So just anxious in a here comes Tennessee football way, not a worried we're going to lose way.
Yeah.
How long has it been, real quick, since you've seen Tennessee go out and take care of business against teams like Ball State, Akron, and UT Martin?
Exactly.
Like they
A long time.
And that is what you do in those games. You take care of business and you get the young guys playing time.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's why we got to see. We got to stop talking about trap games and is Tennessee gonna? No, it's time to just accept this team's gonna be ready to go because, like you just said, Big Vol Daddy, it's the reality. Akron 63-6, right? Ball State 59-10. Tennessee Martin, what was it, 52-7 at halftime? Like, this team's going to take care of business, and that's all there is to it.
Here's the thing. The four of us on here, we remember a time when November was, you went undefeated.
You didn't
in November
lose in November.
because you
took vacations because you knew it didn't matter.
It was practice to get ready for your bowl game. It was beat down to South Carolina, beat down to Vanderbilt, beat down to Kentucky, and then you have your bowl game. It kind of shifted from that, and we got away from it a little bit. But, man, I tell you, I think this coaching staff and this team, they're on to something special down there in Knoxville. And I think the ship has been righted, and like I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't want to say we're back. We're here. We're here. This is
we're going to have this argument again.
Yeah. We're going to have it again. We're here. Enjoy the moment because we're here. You said it. Enjoy the moment.
We've been here before. We're back. We're back. All right, we got to wrap this show up. Been a fun show. Holy cow, what a show. I knew it was going to be a big one. I knew Ben McKee, he always comes on here and freaking kills it. I love having Ben on, having JP back on the channel. Then a big surprise to get Big Vol Daddy on here. Great show. Thank you guys for tuning in, hanging out. Thank you for choosing a bunch of regular dudes that just love Tennessee the same way that you guys do. That's the selling point. We're not experts. We're not insiders. And the biggest key is we're never going to pretend to be experts or insiders. We're diehard, passionate Vol fans just like you guys. That's what makes the Talkin VAWLS Network the heartbeat of the Tennessee fan base. So thank you guys for hanging out. If you want to continue to show support, the link to the merch is in the description below. You can also become a member of the channel. Hit that join button down below. Come hang out Saturday, an hour before kickoff. It's a fan call-in show. Always a blast. Come hang out an hour before kickoff. We'll also be live immediately following the game. Gabe and I, holy cow, Gabe left the chat. He wasn't even here to defend himself. Gabe and I will be live at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Going to be jumping right back on here in about 12 hours. We're going to dive into this Kentucky game a little bit more. Going to be a lot of fun. But that's going to do it for this one. For Dauber, for Vols JP, for Big Vol Daddy, my name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
That we call home, and it's night and night.
morning time a lot.